Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Motivational Monday. We have made it through another week. Good evening, everybody. Again, it is Motivational Monday. Hey, baby SLW. It is Motivational Monday. I am Janice Butler, founder of Woman of Character Incorporated, and I am here for our motivation on Monday. All right. Thank you guys for coming in, and as you are coming in on Facebook and Instagram and even on YouTube, I pray that you would share the video for somebody who may need to hear what we have to say to you today. Again, welcome this evening. Today is June the 22nd. Can you guys believe that we are almost halfway through the year of 2020? And thank God we have made it. And I want to send out a special happy Father's Day to every male, every man that is a father. I pray that your day on yesterday that you were celebrated. We are celebrating our black men, our fathers, those who have taken on the responsibility of raising their sons and their daughters. And so today I have titled this what we get from our fathers is so important. What we get from our fathers is so important. So if you just, again, please share, and we're going to just talk about what we get from our fathers and how it affects us and how it has impacted our lives, the things from our father. And so I just want to share with you first, I am so grateful. My father is deceased. However, there were so many things that I learned from him. He was a good provider. He was a good, we didn't want for anything. We were one of the few black families in our neighborhood, because we grew up in the hood, that went to private schools. Most of you all know that I have a twin brother, and he and I went to private school. I have an older brother who's about 8 years older than us, who went to public school, but our family was a very close-knit family. My father was in the home, and I appreciate the things that I learned from him. Some good, some bad, some things that I didn't want to see. But again, today's topic is what we get from our fathers is so important. And again, happy Father's Day to everybody. And for the men that will be joining us, I pray that you had a blessed day on yesterday and that you were acknowledged, appreciated, and loved. I know we put a lot of focus on Mother's Day and the mothers, but our fathers are just as important because they are the seed and they are the foundation to, I believe, us as women, us as young girls need to hear what our fathers have to say to us and how they impart into us. And so we're going to just jump into that. Good evening, Joyous. I'm glad you could join. And so I just wanted to kind of share with you a little bit of my story. And if you haven't already, I want to encourage you to get my book, Torn Between Religion and Relationship. And I'm just going to read a little excerpt out of that. This is my own personal story of domestic violence, but a lot of this is my life. This is my biography. And I speak to how my father formed the things that he did or didn't do, how they formed me, how they shaped me, how they shaped my thinking, even some of my desires and some of the things that I wanted in life. And so I just want to read to you something that I wrote in the introduction, and it's called part one. It's called My Roots, and it's titled Fearfully and Wonderfully Made. While growing up, I dreamed the dream of a little girl, of marriage and a happy life with a husband and children. I dreamed of a husband who would love and respect me. I dreamed of being a loving wife and mother. But I also dreamed my marriage would be different from and better than my parents' marriage. Like my dad, my husband would provide for us by working, paying bills, and making sure we didn't want for anything. But unlike my dad, my husband wouldn't go party every weekend without his wife, drinking and seeing other women. I dreamed about a husband who would treat me like a queen. I dreamed our love would stand strong and withstand the inevitable storms of life. Like I said, I dreamed. And that's just the beginning of the book. So I want to encourage you, one, to go out and get it. But as it said in there, like I said, I dreamed. And we all have a dream of what we want our lives to be like, what we want our relationships to be like. And as I said, my dad was a wonderful man. I loved my dad, and he did the best that he knew to do, and with what he had, okay? And so I don't want in any way to take away from what he gave me, but there were some things that I lacked as I grew older, and I realized that I lacked some things. And just a little short kind of testimony, just to be a little vulnerable for those who need to hear be someone that's going to be transparent and honest. I loved my dad, and I was a daddy's girl. I could get anything that I wanted. He gave me whatever I wanted. My dad was a truck driver, and so he wasn't home a lot, particularly through the week, because he was out on the road working, so that he could provide for us. Again, like I said, we didn't want for anything. But when he did come home, usually on Friday, he went out partying, and sometimes we wouldn't see him till Sunday or late Saturday night, after he had been out partying all weekend, came in drunk, and but on Sunday, we would see him, but then he'd go off with his family and things like that. And that's not a bad thing, but to me as a little girl, I longed to be with my dad. I longed for the moments when he would just pay attention to me. There was so much going on. There were three of us in the home, my older brother, my twin, and I, my mom. And again, my dad did what he knew to do, which was to take care of us, to provide for us. So he was a very hardworking man. And like I said, we didn't want for anything. One of the few families where, that black families that went to a private school. As you all know, I'm 58 years old. So that was back in the 60s and early 70s. All through high school. We went to private school, grade school, all through high school. And like I said, the one thing that I wanted so much was for my dad to pay attention to me. And I didn't realize how I longed for him to say, I love you. I needed to hear him say, I love you. And he would respond whenever I would say, Daddy, I love you. I love you. He said, I love you too. There was an incident when I was 12 years old that, now remember, this is going somewhere, I promise you. But when I was 12 years old, my dad was home during the week this particular time, and so I was so excited because my daddy was home, and he was sitting in his favorite chair watching TV. And so I jumped in his lap, and I just wanted to hold on to him, and just I wanted him to hold me back, and just show me some affection, not molestation or anything like that, but just hold me as his daughter. And I remember, and see, now I was a tall, lanky girl when I was young, skinny. I was about this big. And he pushed me off of his lap. Not to where I fell or anything, but he's like, girl, get off my lap, you know. And that hurt me so bad. And I felt like, what's he doing? He's my daddy. Why did he push me off? You know, I haven't seen him. I want to see him. And so I didn't realize till I got older what effect that had on me. Of course, you know, you play it off, and you don't realize it that I was looking for love. I wanted love. I wanted to hear my father say, you're pretty. I wanted to hear my father say, I love you, without me being the initiator, right? And so as I grew older and I was 16, my parents were really pretty strict, pretty much my mom. I couldn't date, I couldn't go out till I was 16 years old. And again, I know I was a pretty girl, you know, and the boys liked me. And of course, you know, we call ourselves having boyfriends and stuff like that. But I really wanted to hear how pretty I was from someone other than my mom, or, well, my mom, pretty much, because of course, you know, your twin brother's not going to tell you you're cute. But so I think that was the beginning for me of where my esteem, my low self-esteem started. I knew I was a daddy's girl. I knew my daddy really loved me, but I just didn't hear. I didn't get the affirmation. I didn't get the teaching that he would give me. So, or that he should have given me, other than you make sure that, you know, you work hard, you pay your bills, you make a life for yourself, you go to school. And although my dad, who was born in the South, grew up in the South, he had only had a 6th grade education before he went off, because there were like 16 in his family, and he went off and he left home at 12 years old to work. And so he only had a 6th grade education, but he did the best that he could, and he gave me what he knew to give me. And it wasn't until I was an adult, talking to my mom years later, after I had realized how that one incident affected me mentally as well as emotionally. And my mom told me that, you know, back then men didn't allow girls to sit on their laps because of, you know, getting to rise themselves, or, you know, incest. And I didn't accept that answer. I understood it, but for me, it just, I was like, but I'm his daughter. I was his daughter. You know, I just never would have even thought that would have even come across his mind. But my mom was trying to explain to me why he did what he did. It didn't mean that he didn't love me. It didn't mean that he didn't want me to be around. But it did mean for him, it was about him, and he was protecting his emotions, right? And so I understand it, but it was hard for me to accept, because again, I know that it's so important that what a father gives to his young daughter is what she's going to carry with her for the rest of her life. She's going to carry those thoughts, those words, those emotions about how she views it. It kind of sets up how she views her dad. Now, my dad, again, I was a daddy's girl. I could get anything I want. He would take me on trips with him. Just he and I. We'd go on, you know, when he'd go back home to Louisiana, he'd take me with him because, you know, nobody else wanted to go. But I always wanted to be around my dad. And there was a sense of protection with him. I was safe. I felt safe. Even though I was longing for the love and to hear verbally, I love you, and that you're pretty, and just kind of those things, I knew I was still safe with my dad. And I said all that to say that what we get from our dads is so important. Dads, the men that will come across this live and these videos, I pray that you hear me clearly. There are reasons that the reasons that it's so important is because, one, it builds her esteem. It helps to set a foundation of how she sees herself. Because for me, when my dad pushed me off, it said to me that there was something wrong with me. Knowing that I'm his daughter, he should be embracing me. I felt he should be loving me. And I began my esteem, not knowing it at the time, but my esteem was damaged. And so I'm thinking that, how could he do that to his daughter? What does he think about me? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I don't say all the right things. Maybe I'm not intelligent enough. And I was a smart girl. I graduated number 7 in my class, private school class. So I knew I was smart, A's all across the board. Just a little side note, I would get upset because my twin would come home with a C or D even on his report card and would be okay. But if I came home with a B or a C, I got in trouble, and I realize now that was because my mom, they knew and they expected, they had a certain expectation from me, right? So back to that. One, it's important what a father gives is because you are building that young girl's esteem. She needs to hear you say, I love you. She needs to hear you say, you are beautiful. She needs to know how much you value her, because your words, you are imparting into her a set of values that she will carry with her for the rest of her life. And so it was that early influence, it was that early that influence that if my dad had said to me how beautiful I was, how pretty I was, how smart I was, how intelligent I was, how gifted I was, because I was involved in all kinds of sports. I was the social butterfly. I was very active in track and volleyball. Tried to play basketball for a minute, that didn't work. But volleyball, and played that till I was in my late 40s. But if Dad had said those words to me, and built my esteem, when Joe came along, when George came along, when the other guy came along at age 15, 16 that said I was pretty, I could have said, I know, because my dad already said it. I wouldn't just be looking for that affirmation from outside of my family, outside of my father, outside of my brothers, outside of my nucleus that was helping me to form and set boundaries. That's why it's so important. One is, fathers, you're helping her build her esteem. Two, you're helping her to set boundaries, because when Joe comes along and tells her how pretty she is, she's not so easily influenced and so wooed by his words that she just does whatever he asks her to do. She's able to say, I already know that. I know I'm pretty because my daddy says that I am. I know who Janice is because my daddy has put me, in a sense, on a pedestal, and he's built me up. He's built my esteem up. So now I can set boundaries that I can then make the choice and not let men do whatever they want to do. Also, in setting those boundaries, men, you have to know that women usually pick their fathers, whether that's consciously or subconsciously. They select men that are like their dads. As I read to you earlier, there were certain things that I wanted because I had seen my father provide for the family. I saw him when he would come home off the road and he'd sit down at the table and he'd chart out his mileage, or he may do all his paperwork. I'd see him as he was paying the bills for the house for the month or for the week or whatever, his schedule was. I saw him sit down and take care of us. I saw him make arrangements when the water went out, or if something was going on that he did it, might have done it on the sly, but he did it. He took care of his family. I saw all those things. But then I saw on the flip side, I saw the partying. I saw the pictures of other women that my mother would find in a drawer. I saw how my mother would cry when my father wasn't there during the weekend or over the weekend after he'd been gone all week at work. So I can imagine as an adult what she's thinking. Where is he? Who's he with? I saw how my mother would have to sometimes take care of my dad when he would come home drunk, cleaning him up. If he was, over the commode, puking, or had, just not able to get undressed, and how she would care for him. Those were things that I didn't want to experience. I didn't want to have to worry about. But on the other hand, I wanted that man who took care of the home. My dad would get up every Saturday morning and he'd fix breakfast. He loved to cook. He would fix breakfast, and he'd be in the kitchen just whistling. And that was kind of what woke me up, is hearing him whistle. He would whistle. He'd make these songs while he was cooking. He had a garden. He would pick things from his garden and use tomatoes and peppers, and we even had watermelon and just different things that he would get out of his garden. Or he'd go out and he'd work, or get up early on Saturday morning, cutting the yards in the summer, cleaning the house, painting, just working on cars, making sure that we were good, right? And so those were the things that I longed for in a relationship. But again, dads, you are helping to, one, build her esteem, and you are helping her to set boundaries by what you do and what you say. You don't have to always say a lot, because we're always watching. We're always assessing. There were things that I got from him that I didn't want to see in my mate when I grew up, like the partying, as I said, because even though he never said anything, we're always watching our dads. We're always getting something from that male figure who is in our life, be it good or bad. So I encourage you to make sure that what you're giving them is a balance. Explaining to that girl when you make a mistake, or when you and your mom or your wife or your significant other has had an argument, and the children are there and we hear it, and so we hear what it's about, or we see how you react. Now, the one thing I can say, my dad never hit my mom. He was never physically abusive to my mom, or to my knowledge. He was never physically abusive to my mom. But I didn't realize the emotional and the mental abuse that my mom was experiencing from the other women, the infidelity, the drinking, the staying away from home and not coming home. Those things weigh on us. They weigh on us. So what we learn from our fathers is so important. So important. And Dad, you have a big responsibility. I know you teach your sons, or what do they say? You teach your daughters, but you raise your sons. We want you to raise us. We want you to love us. We want to know how you feel about us, so that when we walk out into the world, when we step out and we're looking for that love, or we're desiring that love from someone else, we're not just taking it from whoever comes along and says, hey, do this, or I'll give you this. We can make some informed decisions because we've seen it from our dads. We've seen it from our dads. And thirdly, you can help us define what we desire. You help us define what we desire in a mate and in a relationship. I'm going to say that again. Dads, you help us build up our esteem. You 2, you help us to set boundaries. And 3, men, you help us to define what we desire in a mate and in a relationship. As I read to you earlier again, there were things that I wanted and there were things that I didn't want to see. And again, 9 times out of 10, women, if you are in an unhealthy relationship, some of it, if not the majority of it, was based on what you got from your father or what you didn't get from your dad. And so I just want you to know that, dads, you are so important. You are so important to your young daughter's esteem. You are so, what you do and what you say, you are so important in how you portray yourself. So, because you're helping her define the type of man that she wants to be with eventually, if you will allow her to be. Because we know, guys, we know you get very protective about your daughters because men know how men act and what they do, right? And they don't want to see their child, their daughter, no matter what age she is, be abused, whether it be mentally, emotionally, sexually, physically, financially. Dads, you are helping women to become the women that they are today. My dad taught my brothers how to provide, how to care for their wives, what to do. My brothers, my oldest brother as well as my twin, are awesome husbands and fathers. They care for their children. They take care of their homes. Their wives want for nothing. Now, am I saying that their relationships are just no. We're all gonna have struggles. We're all gonna have disagreements. We're all gonna have challenges where we have to compromise. But dads, women will see how you handle your wife, how you handle the woman that's significant in your life, and they'll think that that is the norm. And we've talked so much about what's normal and what's healthy, because what you know as normal may not necessarily be healthy. It might not be healthy for you. So we want our dads to help us as young women, help us even as women to settle some things in us. Women, I'm encouraging you. If your dad is still alive, you still have time to build on the relationship that you have, or even rebuild the relationship that you have with him. He's older now. He probably did only what he had seen or what he knew to do. Give him some grace. Forgive him. Start from right where you are, because they did what they knew. My dad only did what he knew. That's what he saw. And can you imagine a young boy leaving at 12 for the world to raise him? Okay? The world. So I'm sure there were men in his ear saying, you got to control your woman. You just make sure you make enough money. But this is how you do it. I've heard men talk about the barbershop and what they've learned a lot in the barbershop. So women, I'm encouraging you, if your dad is still alive, or that significant male in your life is still alive, 1, forgive, and 2, continue to build on the relationship that you have with him, because heaven forbid that he go on to be with the Lord or he die, and you haven't said all that you wanted to say to him. When my dad got older, before he passed, he ended up with Alzheimer's, and I had the pleasure of taking care of my dad. It was an honor for me. I moved out of my own house because at that time my son was already in college, and my daughter was in college as well, her first year of college. But even before that, her graduation, my dad started getting a little not incompetent, but he couldn't rationalize and stuff, and he was having some health issues and not able to walk and things where we had to take keys and stuff. But I had the pleasure of taking care of my dad, and wow, excuse me, but because I honored my dad and what he taught me, what he showed me, not just the good, but even in the bad. And I know that he loved me. I know that he loved me. And I loved him. And so it was an honor to take care of him right until his death. Right up until his death. And so today, I just want to admonish every dad, acknowledge the fathers that will see this through their wives or because of their wives that have seen this, and say, Happy Father's Day. I salute you. Because as Black men, we have a hard task raising daughters, teaching us. We need to learn too. And so I pray that you will be mindful, women, that what your dad has to show you and teach you is so important. And for the men to know that you are helping her build her esteem. You are helping her to set boundaries, learn how to set boundaries and stick with them. And you are helping her to define what it is that she wants in a mate and in a relationship. You, sir, are the key. You are the foundation of how and what she'll seek and what she'll desire. And for those of you who didn't have a dad in your life or didn't have a good example, I know you've had somebody that has had an impact on your life. And I encourage you to glean from them. Ask questions. Ask them why they did what they did. Ask them, things that you would think, oh, they're not gonna, that's too hurtful or that's too harmful. But it's those hard conversations. It's those hard things, when you address them, help you to become free, help you to release the anger, help you to release the pain of your past and move forward. So I just want to motivate you on today to know that you are on the right path and you're going to get there. As I always say what you see and you'll see what you say. I want you to be whole. I want you to be able to release. I want you to be able to be confident in who you are. I want you to be able to acknowledge and accept the past for it being just that, the past. Adjust your thinking, change your mindset, and then trust the process as we continue to grow together as women. So I pray that this has been a blessing to you guys. Please tune in. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Please follow me on YouTube at Janice E. Butler. On Instagram, it's WMOFCHARACTER. That's short for Woman of Character. And on Facebook, Woman of Character Inc. And that's woman with an A. So I love you guys. If you guys want to send me a message, please do so. The information, you can either DM me or message me. Put your comments below. If there's something you want me to address or something that you want to talk to, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is 816-945-0600. If you want to give me a call, leave me a message and I'll get back with you. If you want to send me an email at WMOF CHARACTER@gmail.com, or you can visit our website at womanofcharacter.org, and that's woman with an A, womanofcharacter.org. You can also send us send mail to the post office box, and that's post office box 18224, Kansas City, Missouri 64133. If you are looking for a speaker, I would love to come and speak to your group, your organization. Again, go out and get the book. Go get the book, Woman of Character. Get the book, Torn Between Religion and Relationship. Again, it's my personal story. It gives you so much more than what I just read today, and hopefully it'll be a blessing to you. We got some new things coming, and so just be on the lookout from that. But today, I pray that this has been motivating for you as it has been freeing for me. I love you guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye.